profile button. There we go. Oh, it's good to be back in the office. I'm actually sitting down. That live was awesome yesterday, and it was also, long for standing outside. And it was hot out there, but it was an amazing day. We had a lot of people in the live. It was amazing. We are live. Oh, are we live? We're live here. We're live there. We're live everywhere. Okay, let's get this started. A little introduction. If you're new to the show, my name is Sean Shapiro. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, and I go live on social media answering your traffic and police questions. That's what we do here. Now, I am a member of the Toronto Police Service. I work for Traffic Services, which is a citywide unit that responds to calls for traffic collision investigation, for events of that nature. We also enforce the Highway Traffic Act, and we have things like the Motor Squad that go out and get involved with all sorts of extra things, dignitary escorts and whatnot, above and beyond everything else that we do. But so much that we do and so much to talk about. One of the best things we get to do right now is answer your traffic and police questions for an hour. Oh, yes. And that's what we're going to do right now. I want to start off by welcoming you back. If you were here before and you came back again, well, that's awesome. If you're totally new to the game, then I'm sure you're going to have some fun. Is it really? It's the 17th today? No one told me it was the 17th. It is no, I'm kidding. And the Vision Zero enforcement team is all over the city. Well, not really. See, we have police officers all over the city that enforce the Highway Traffic Act and are doing what they need to do to keep the roads safe for you, for all road users. But we have the Vision Zero enforcement team, and they are a dedicated group of officers who augment the work being done in each division to focus on the big four: speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. And today they are in 12 Division and 55 Division, which doesn't mean a lot to many, but those are the police divisions that service certain neighborhoods like Weston, Mount Dennis, Rockcliffe, Smythe, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York. Those are communities with real people. Those real people need protection from drivers who choose to make it less safe through their bad behavior. Oh, it sounds terrible when you say bad behavior. But it's true. If you're doing something that puts others at risk, we're going to try and change your behavior one ticket at a time. No hugs issued. If you are watching, I should probably change the little doodad here. Hang on one second. I'm going to bring up a screen in the hopes that I can actually see a big version of the questions, because that's helpful. Okay, let's see. Does it work? Possibly, maybe. Live. Possibly, maybe. It's going to give me that login screen. Oh, I keep forgetting to do it. Okay, here we go. So far, so good. Good stuff. Okay, awesome. I've got the screen on. We have some questions that are coming in courtesy of Q. Audio is good. Thank you for confirming. Akela Draconis coming in from YouTube. Greetings and salutations. Sounds better today. Yes, I should address the elephant in the room. Maybe not the elephant, but here's the deal. Yesterday, we were trying to go stream on multiple platforms, all on cellular connections. So I had my personal cell phone on TikTok. I had my work cell phone streaming with as a mobile hotspot for my work laptop, so that I could go out onto Restream and stream to YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places we go. And it just couldn't support it. I don't know if it's because it's an iPhone 11 instead of the new 5G phone, but we're going to do some experimenting because I like the idea of doing these on-location broadcasts. Really cool. And like I said, we had a tremendous number of people that were in the live yesterday. We had, at times, 1,700 people in the room, 40,000 people, just shy of 40,000 people were in the live. So if you're watching the live and you think other people would benefit, please invite them to the live, like the live, and forward it around. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, please retweet and share with your on your pages, because the more the merrier. We want to get your questions answered. And if you're watching and for some reason can't get your question answered or can't get it to us, then please feel free to use trafficcop.ca. That will take you to our Volley app space where you can answer or ask questions for us to answer. And I happen to have a couple that were sent last night. I got to find, there we go. We got to find, let me mute this so it doesn't play out the speakers. But I've got, there we go. We have some questions about being a police officer. We have a couple of questions about G1 licenses. We're going to get to those in just a second. But first, who has the authority in Toronto? Toronto Police, OPP, or RCMP? All of us have authority. because we're police officers in the province of Ontario. Both OPP and Toronto Police went to the same school, and we're sworn officers for the entire province. The RCMP are federal officers, and they don't handle certain calls for us here because we have the jurisdiction or the priority for them. But they're still police officers. They still have authority as police officers. Oh, it's playing a. Well, I thought I muted that. Mute. I didn't. So somebody was answering. This is Michael. Volleys come in by video, voice, or text. So it was on autoplay, and that just caught me off guard. All right. Yona, good morning. Yona Bud is watching on LinkedIn. Good morning to you. I have plans to edit a video that we shot during Honda Indy. The plan is to, after this live, actually focus on editing that video so we can get it out and play it because it was awesome. The best 12 minutes of a Honda Indy. All right. What do we got here? We got. Okay, these things are scrolling so quickly. What is the fastest speed I can go on the 401 without being pulled over? There is no fastest speed threshold that you're safe. The fact is, if you go even 1 kilometer over the speed limit, you are technically speeding. And the charge is the same whether you're doing 1 kilometer over or 30 over, 40 over. It's speeding. And the difference in the speed just goes to how much you're going to pay and how many points are attributed to it. Truth is, you're not allowed to legally speed. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for. You're looking for a specific number that you're safe to speed. Speeding is not safe, so there is no speed that you can do. Not legally, and I won't support it. You do what you do, but you deserve whatever you get if you're speeding. I know that's not a friendly thing, but it is what it is. You shouldn't speed. Do I have to put my G1 driver teen on my insurance? This person needs help to answer this question. The truth is that your insurance company should be notified, but in most cases, they will not require any insurance premium to be added until they are a G2 licensed driver, because they have to be supervised by you. You're in the vehicle with them. So, yeah, that's the deal. You generally don't have to pay, but you should call and notify them anyway. Kind of rhymed. Okay, Kayla has a question. Are driving instructors allowed to teach skidding control and recovery without being on a close course, or is it still stunt driving? I don't believe that there's any exemption for instructors, as a matter of fact. At least I didn't read it when I read the HTA section on stunt driving. So as far as I know, they are not permitted to unless they're on a closed track that is specifically set up for that. So, when we do our skid control stuff, it's on a closed track. We have a fire hose on a slick surface, and they disable ABS, and we do all sorts of things specifically on a track. So, yeah, that deserves some more investigation, but I'm not aware of any exemption for driving instructors to do that. All right. A question coming in from, I think, TikTok. A female police officer told my girlfriend she has to stop at yield signs. Is this true? Okay, yield signs are yield signs, not stop signs. But if you're yielding to the other traffic and you cannot get in, then obviously you do have to stop because you have to yield. So you might have to stop if there's traffic there. But yield signs are yield signs, not stop signs. But it's interesting. I wonder what the context is. There must be a bigger conversation there. What if a cop pulled me over for a broken signal light that I didn't know about? Well, you're still responsible for your motor vehicle to ensure that it's in good condition. Did you do circle checks? How many people do circle checks? You should do a circle check before you drive your vehicle. You want to check to make sure your tires all have air in them. Even if you don't check the pressure, you should be making a visual observation, checking to make sure that everything's still attached. Who knows? Maybe your vehicle was struck in your driveway. That happened to my buddy Harold. He had a rental car. Somebody drove past his house and took the front end of the vehicle off. If he didn't do a circle check, he would not have known. Okay. Hello, Mr. Sean. What is the penalty for driving with an expired car safety inspection? Well, are you talking about driving with a vehicle that is unsafe? Because if you haven't plated it, you only get an inspection for safety when you're getting it licensed. It's really just to get you certified, and then you take it to the dealership or to the ministry, I should say, and you get your license plates. At that point, it's rendered. You've had it safetied, and you're licensed, and you're good to go. You can't drive around with a safety check, and your safety check doesn't last forever. So I need to know more. But what's the fine for having a vehicle that doesn't have? It's an unsafe vehicle. It shouldn't be on the road. I'd have to look up if there's a specific charge for expired safety inspection. Do you mean like a device for a commercial vehicle? I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this. Okay. There's a question coming in from Instagram Live, because we're on Instagram too. Can I use my phone while on the red light? No. You can only use your telephone when you are legally parked. And legally parked is legally parked, like a place that you could leave your car and not get ticketed because you're legally parked. Red lights, you're still driving. You're still responsible for what your vehicle is doing. And that includes paying attention to what's coming up behind you and so on. Let's see here. The person with the truck yesterday with all the violations, did you ticket on private property? So this is it wasn't a truck. It was like a low slung kind of race sports car, black and blue, literally. It was like a spotted wrap. And my colleague, we couldn't lay charges because the violations that were in place were not enforceable on private property. However, if we observed them driving on the road, they could have been charged. So I don't know how that resolved. I don't know if they got a tow truck, but they certainly didn't do anything in front of me. They did not stick around to where I was. But that person, that vehicle was not safe for the road and should have left on a tow truck. Okay. But that's a good question. See, viewers here are paying attention. They remember what happened yesterday, and we talk about it. It's great. I love it. Love it. Why do police officers touch the car when they stop a car? Not all police officers do this. It's very common in the United States, and it's to create that whole continuity. I'm pulling over the vehicle. I'm touching the vehicle. That's leaving my mark on the vehicle. I know where I touched it. My fingerprint is there. So if it takes off on me or it shoots me or whatever happens, I can then say I touched the car. I know that that's the car, and if they locate it later, they can there's that continuity of evidence. You know, I can say it definitely was that car, not a car that looked like it. It had my fingerprint on it. But that's not something we really do here, but some people do it because it was on TV, so it must be right. It's all good. It's all good. If you suspect someone is intoxicated and driving, but you're not sure, should you still call the police? Yes. If you are concerned for the safety of yourself or other drivers on the road, for the public at large, because you think they might be impaired by drugs or alcohol or even having a medical episode, someone's just all over the road, that is a very, very good reason to call the police. Now, very often people are worried. What happens if you call the police, the person gets investigated, and they find out that the person was not actually impaired? Then, you know what? We know they're not impaired. And you did what you did to make sure people are safe, and that's the right thing to do. Okay. That's the deal. You make your best efforts to protect everybody, and if it's nothing at the end, because maybe they were on their cell phone, but it looked like impairment. At the end of the day, you have to judge. You have to go with your gut. If you think that people are unsafe or being unsafe at the time, you do what you got to do. So interesting. Yesterday we had additional features. Today I was on a different telephone. Maybe that's why. It's always a crapshoot as to whether or not we have new features or our features work on TikTok. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. There was a new feature that rolled out, but I was on a different a SIM card from the United States yesterday. Maybe that's why. Or was I? I don't know. Okay. Is there an age limit in regards to joining the police force? Not in Ontario. I don't know if that's Canada-wide or Ontario. I think it's Canada-wide. But in any case, there's no age limit. You have to be able to perform the duties, meet the physical requirements, but I don't believe there's any cutoff anymore. Used to be 65. In any case, when I joined, there were people in their 50s who were in my class. So if you are, you don't age out as an opportunity. In the United States, I understand if you're like over 25 or over 35, like there's certain cutoffs you can't apply because they don't want to invest in someone who's going to be around for 5 years. In any case, if you're interested in becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service, you should apply. www.tps.ca/careers for more information on becoming a member of the service. And you don't have to just apply to be a police officer. You can apply to be a parking officer, special constable. We have civilian jobs, so many opportunities within the police service. If you are interested in a career with us, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, question from, I said I was going to do it, and then I didn't do it. Here's a question that came in yesterday. Do you have to be on the street for 5 years before you're allowed to move into a different unit like K9? Actually, I think I talked about this on the live yesterday, but we'll hit it again just because. And the answer is, generally speaking, you have to you have some road experience. You have to be a first-class constable before you're eligible to get into a specialty. Some units want even more experience. We talk about K9. I've heard 8 to 10 years for people wanting to get into K9, but I don't know if that's official or if it's the average. In any case, you can't be a new recruit there. Now, traffic used to be one of those specialties, and now we have new recruits that come in sometimes because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. What happened here? What if you, will you get a parking ticket if you're a security guard responding to an overnight emergency alarm? I think we covered that one yesterday too, and the answer is yes. If you're parking somewhere you shouldn't, you might get a ticket, even if you have an excuse for it. Yeah, this one, Michael had an interesting question, sent a video. Here's a picture from yesterday. Somebody has heart-shaped taillights from Ishan, who wants to know, the question is, are these taillights in previous pick legal? So those look like an aftermarket LED brake light, and they're kind of cute. And if you go into our Q&A section, you can actually see trafficcop.ca, go into our vol, you can see this picture that I'm responding to. And it's literally, it looks like sequential brake lights, and they're all heart-shaped. If they're not tinted and they meet the requirements of 150 meters, of being discernible at 150 meters, they are likely just fine. Can I show this to you guys here? Let me go into volley and show you this pic, because I can hold it up. Pause. Apparently I can't zoom. So these are the brake lights in question. Would you put this on your car? Can I show? I have to show the big screen. Oh my goodness. There. So to me, if they're aftermarket, if they're not tinted and they function as they're designed, they're probably fine. I certainly wouldn't be offended by them. Hey, you're in my driving courses. Yes, apparently. I've been hearing this. I don't know which courses are featuring my face, but apparently our content here on TikTok and on other platforms is being used by different instructors. So that's awesome. It's good to hear that we are, we're making a difference in teaching new drivers to drive safely. Awesome. Is nitrous illegal streetwise? Yes. You can have the system installed. You can't have a tank that has any nitrous in it, assembled and put in ready for use. That's illegal. You can have an empty tank for show. I don't even know why people would do that, but yeah. It's also apparently not very good for your engine, although it does create a lot of pressure. I think that's how it works. It allows more effective burn and giving you a boost. Yeah, but not legal for street. What is this? Is there any exemptions on seatbelt wearing? Yes. If you're reversing, you don't need a seatbelt. If you're traveling under 40 kilometers an hour as a courier, making frequent stops but not exceeding 40 kilometers an hour, you can be permitted to not wear a seatbelt. And if there are medical exemptions. So if a doctor says you can't wear a seatbelt for health reasons, you could. I would really want to wear a seatbelt. I can't get into a car without wearing a seatbelt. It makes me feel very awkward. Not just because it's the law and I know it's the law, it's because I've seen people who exit through the windshield in an impact, in a collision. Bad things happen when you don't wear your seatbelt. It is the best way to reduce injury in a vehicle other than simply not becoming involved in a collision. What is the question here? Hi, sir. If there is a speed limit of 80, can we go till 85? No. 80 says you can go to 80. A Canadian A says, do you have your past lives anywhere in the stored so you can rewatch them? My past lives, like when I was we're talking about actually live sessions. If you go to our YouTube channel, which is Traffic Services Toronto Police on YouTube, you can watch all of them. Season 1, Season 2, years and years. No, we don't have years and years. We won't even be doing this for a couple of years. But all the episodes are stored there forever and ever and ever. You're welcome to go there and check them out. And if you have more questions, bring forward questions because things change. If you have new questions, updated questions, feel free to ask them here. Somebody says, I look like the guy who did something for the school. I don't know. Maybe I was the guy. Okay. Can you be charged if your passengers are smoking weed? Well, you're not allowed to consume alcohol or marijuana in a vehicle. So, yeah, someone's going to get charged. And as a driver, would you charge the driver? Possibly, maybe. I think it depends on what's going on. But certainly, tickets can be issued for that. And if you're consuming it, if you're actually under the influence of drugs or alcohol, as a driver, you're in care and control, and you could be arrested. All depends. Can you get a ticket for parking in a handicapped spot on private property? Yes, you can. Those are offenses, and enforcement wherever those spots are enforceable. Should I call the police if a dog owner refuses to put his dog on a leash at a bike trail? If the dog is biting people, if the dog is causing a problem, you could certainly report them. Is it a 911 call because they're not wearing a leash? No. And very often, bylaw officers will be there to do spot inspections and enforcement, but that's not a priority call. If the dog is dangerous, it's a priority call. But if the dog is just, sniffing trees and going for a leak, the police have things that are higher priority to deal with. Don't waste time calling it because the dog's not on a leash, please. Okay. Are you allowed to turn right at a red light without stopping? No. Red lights mean stop, wait until it's safe to do so, and then make your turn in safety. Wow. Okay. Does a police car hiding, waiting for cars speeding count as entrapment? No. That is not entrapment. Entrapment requires for us to induce you, to make you do something and then charge you for it. If I gave you a great way to make money by selling, something illegal, and I told you it was a great business opportunity, I told you where to buy this stuff, and then I brought you a customer to sell it to, and then you did it, and I said, I got you break, that would be entrapment. If I catch you speeding because you speed and I'm just hiding, it means I caught you doing something illegal that you were doing without my getting involved. So you did what you did, I just caught you, and hiding is not something that we're prevented from doing. I think we're encouraged to do it because that's why we have unmarked vehicles, to catch you doing what you're doing when you don't realize someone's around, because you can always correct your behavior temporarily. When you see the police car, you say, oh, there's a police car, I should probably do the right thing. When your mom and dad are home, you should probably do the right thing. When the teacher's in the room, you do the right thing. But as soon as they turn your back, that's when people do the wrong thing. So catching people when they're doing the wrong thing, that's what we're doing. And then hopefully they do the right thing from that point forward. Or you could avoid getting involved with us at all by just doing the right thing all the time. Hello, sir. My front license plate bracket is broken. Is it legal to have my plate in my windshield? No, it's not. It's illegal to do that. You can be charged for failing to display your plates. And people say, well, it's displayed. Well, the regulations actually say the front of the vehicle, not the front windshield. And you can't have a license plate cover of any kind, clear, color, tinted, frame. So by putting it behind the windshield, it's also covered and not properly mounted. So no, you cannot. Ooh, good idea. Okay. Sergeant Kraft, who said we should come and do a live on location. That's a very good idea. Maybe we'll try and do that later this week. Big Jeff Fresh, good morning on YouTube. Long time no see. And maybe you were here yesterday, but yesterday was a blur. It was sunny. It was warm. Yes. But going back to the front license plate bracket is broken. Get it fixed, get it ordered, or use a license plate, what's it called? A tow hook adapter. Yes, tow hook adapter, great way to not offensively mount license plates. I don't know what the big deal is. License plates have been on vehicles in Ontario for as long as I can remember. But somehow now people are allergic to applying them properly. Liz says, I do circle checks. One thing that circle checks don't tell me is if things like my brake lights are out. I have to specifically ask someone to check for me while stepping on the brakes. I used to use a water bottle, two 1.5 liter water bottles. I actually wedged them in on the brake pedal. I wouldn't do that on the gas, but I would do that on the brake pedal so I could do my own circle checks. And there's other ways to do it. You could use a stick that you cut, but there are ways to do it. It is not something, there is no automatic, I can't do this without help thing. There are ways to make things work. So that's what I did. I used a stick or very often 2 water bottles stuck together. Because it was just the amount, and you just need to depress it a little bit, and simply turning your lights on and walking around will give you at least the stage 1 of the brake light. For the actual marker light that is on all the time, stage 2 requires depressing the brakes. But very good point, Liz, and thank you for bringing it up, because I don't think we've ever talked about that, the how to test, because it's a very good point. But now you have the answer: 1.5 liter bottles of water or a stick. I got a speeding ticket in Alberta. On Ontario's license, will I get demerits? Yeah, generally speaking, they report back. Even if they don't, if it slips through, it should end up on your record. Not all provinces have a direct or efficient reporting system, but generally speaking, all that information filters, and sometimes it falls through the cracks, but more often than not, expect the points to be there. In the United States, there's a few states that do have reciprocal agreements in place that allow reporting, but it doesn't mean that even though there's no reciprocal, that it doesn't find its way into our system. Things happen. I got obstructed number plate ticket. Is this going to come on my abstract and any demerits? So if you have an obstructed license plate, it's not a moving violation. It's not as a result of your driving. There's no demerit points, but it will be on your abstract. It is against you. Can autistic people join the force? My autistic son wants to be an officer. I don't know the answer to that question. I know we have members of the police service who have civilian roles that are or in the past have been autistic, because one is my friend who is now working for Rogers. He's left. But he was, I think, the first autistic member, and he was a civilian. I don't know if it's possible as a police officer, but the best people to talk to are the employment office, the talent acquisition recruiting folks. They have the answers to everything when it comes to traffic. They don't know about traffic, but they know about employment, and you can get them by going to www.tps.ca/careers. All the information about becoming a member of the service. So I'm sure there's a place somewhere for your son in the service, regardless of what role it might be. Let's see. Can cop pull you over? I got to press the button for this. Here we go. Oh, it skipped too far down. All right, where we go. Here we are. Can cop pull you over next time CBS? Oh, because. Maybe it's because he thinks you still have no insurance, license, or registration. Can a cop pull you over next time? I don't know what this. I'm trying to understand the context of your question. So, a police officer can pull you over to verify your license status, your insurance status, and your sobriety. For no other reason, we can do that. If you do something else, there's additional reasons to pull you over. But I can pull over any car to find out the answers to those three questions, any one of those three questions, or all of those questions. So if I pulled you over before and you failed, and I pull you over again because I recognize you and think, well, there's a problem there, I want to double check, perfectly legitimate. Okay, can motorcycles go in the HOV? Yes. On the provincial HOV lanes, absolutely they can. As of 2017, they've amended the rules, and they can go solo. Prior to that, they had to have passengers. And on city HOVs, the sign actually has a picture of a motorcycle allowing them to be on there. Can you keep unopened alcohol in the back seat? Yes. Unopened, sealed from factory, alcohol or legitimately purchased sealed packages of marijuana can be kept anywhere in the motor vehicle, sealed. As soon as you crack the case or the package or the bottle, they have to be away from the driver. They have to be kept out of the driver's reach. Best to put it in the trunk. But I went to the LCBO yesterday. I had to buy some wine for cooking because I was told to. And I had it right beside me, sealed from factory. Simple. Car chase through different jurisdictions, do they combine trials into one court? That's a good question. It would be the initiating police service who had first contact that would be the primary on that, is my understanding. I have not had a multi-jurisdiction car chase that I've ever been involved in, but I understand that the initial jacket, the initial case would be through them, and then the other officers might be witnesses. I don't think they would have, it's not new car chases as you cross the border into another jurisdiction, because we're Ontario officers. We don't lose our authority, whereas in the States, it might be different. I don't know how that works. But I am on Ontario, Canada, so we have Ontario law here for HTA, and when it comes to criminal, it's federal. What do we have here? Yes. Big Jeff Fresh was here yesterday, but it was YouTube and Twitch being twitchy. So he lurked. He used to be here on TikTok, but he spends most of his time on the big screen. Okay. How long does a criminal record stay after withdrawal? A criminal record? Well, if charges were withdrawn, they're not a criminal record. It's you don't have a criminal record. They were withdrawn. So it's only convictions that are part of your record. Can you get demerits from speeding caught by a speed camera? Negative. Demerits are from when an officer charges you and you are convicted of offenses that fall under moving violation status. So actually, that's not true. There's other things, like, for instance, a radar detector carries 2 demerit points. Just having them, even though you're not moving. So, certain charges have demerits, but it's an officer laying the charge where those come into play. When it's an automated speed enforcement or automated red light camera, those do not go against the driver. They go against the motor vehicle, and the registered owner is responsible. Somebody wants to know if I'm married. I am married and the father of children, and very, very happily, but thank you for asking. Let's see here. What do you need to get in high school to be police? Minimum requirements are grade 12 education and OSSD, but it's always better to have more education. It's a competitive process. So having university or at very least college diplomas, these help you in the process. So minimum requirements are minimum, just like speed limits are maximum. We're trying to find ways to talk about speed. Okay. Can you get a ticket for not having a front license plate in Ontario if they are an Alberta plate? If you are from a jurisdiction that only issues you one plate, you only have to display the plate you're issued. If you're issued or from a jurisdiction that issues two plates, you must display two plates. But obviously, we don't ask you to make your own plates if you are only issued one. What do we got here? An officer told me that lane filtering isn't legal, but kind of legal. Please explain. Jeremy wants to know. Lane filtering, there's no specific law that says thou shalt not lane filter. There is no such law that says thou shalt not lane split. What it is the activity is dangerous and it's considered careless driving and you can be charged. Obviously, lane splitting can even be stunt driving depending on the observations of the officer. You're supposed to drive in a lane, not between two lanes, and certainly not in close proximity to other vehicles while cutting them off and driving beyond the speed of the pack of traffic. So, lane filtering is when you are at a stop and people are slow speed coming to the front because they can fit. There's no real HTA specific there. But if an officer believes that is behavior that is unsafe or careless, then they lay that charge, and that becomes a court making a decision. So could you be charged? Yes. Will you be charged? Maybe. Are quotas a thing? No, they're not. Not here. I couldn't tell you about every police service across the planet. I'm sure some places say, go out and get me 50 tickets today. That's a lot of tickets, by the way. But you know what? Here, it's all about working an honest day's work. If I go out and I write 5 tickets, but I arrest 3 people, which is also a lot, it depends on what your day is. You've got to go out and work for your money. If you're just hanging out at Tim Hortons and sipping double doubles all day, you're going to be answering to questions as to why you deserve to have your job. So it's not about hitting a quota. It's not about hitting a specific number. It's about doing work. So if I'm investigating a collision, it takes me all day, and I can articulate that's why I was busy all day. Is because look, and I went to get video camera evidence here for that, and I saw one person at the hospital, and I saw another person. I can articulate because I have to keep notes of everything. They also track the movements of our vehicles wherever they go, whether we turn our lights on. They know everything. Okay. Are police allowed to ask passengers for license and registration? Registration? So if you're being, as a passenger, you're not obligated to identify yourself unless you're being investigated for a Highway Traffic Act or criminal offense. So if you're not wearing your seatbelt, I can ask you for your identification. It doesn't have to be a driver's license because there's no requirement for driver's license as a passenger. But satisfying a police officer as to who you are is a requirement, or you can be arrested if you refuse. Cyclists also have to identify themselves, but actually differently than the passenger. Passenger specific to them. Cyclists, if you're operating a bicycle and we're pulling you over, there's a reason for it. If you are a driver, however, you are obligated to surrender license, ownership, and insurance upon demand, and it has to be a driver's license. I know you were asking about passenger. I'm looking for anything else, but I wouldn't ask a passenger for the ownership or insurance unless they were the registered owner and the driver was driving them. Like, there could be a context why you'd ask, but the driver's the one responsible. If they can't provide it, they're the ones who get charged for not having the registration. All right, moving on. Just to keep riders safe and always visible. Oh, this is Jeremy's follow-up about his lane filtering question. I got to tell you, I drive a full-dressed, or I ride a full-dressed touring bike, and I generally won't fit between vehicles to filter. But, I have to tell you that watching what other drivers do, you get a sense for the fact that the entire world on the road is doing unpredictable things. You can never assume that a driver is going to know that you're there. And drivers do last-minute lane changes. They make unsafe moves from stop locations. And if you're in between in the space that they don't expect you to be, but you're filtering, you might get hit. And at that point, it's going to be your responsibility. You're the one at fault there. They made the move, but you shouldn't have been there. What if I have a learner's license and who is sitting on my side has a probationary license? Will you let it go? I will not let it go. I would charge you because you're not allowed to drive with a probationary licensed person beside you. You must have a full G with 4 years experience in order to be supervised. I would charge you, and you wouldn't be allowed to drive. They could drive if they have a probationary license, but you'd be charged. And they would likely be charged would they be charged? Allowing, if it was their car, I'd charge them for allowing you to drive when in contravention of your license. So you'd get a 30-day suspension on conviction for that. So no, you cannot drive unless you have a actual person who has the appropriate license to supervise. Okay, second question, same person. Excuse me, sir, if you have a short break in traffic lights, which is turning red, and back hits your car, whose mistake is that? Let me try that again. If you have a short break in traffic lights, which is turning red, and if back car hits your car, who's responsible? I'm not really sure what you're asking me. Do you mean that you hit the brakes abruptly and someone hit you? They were likely following you too close. If you did it when you should have gone through, it depends. I don't know enough about what you're asking me, but generally speaking, if you get rear-ended, it's going to be the person who rear-ends you who's at fault. But is that what you're asking? I'm not sure. Maybe you can rephrase that and ask it again, and we'll try and get you the appropriate answer. Because we're giving you the best answer, the one that really is. Thing. Oh, and a bunch of questions came in on Volley, and here I am ignoring Volley. My apologies. I tell you that it's the priority place to get your questions answered, and then I ignore it. And Neon says, good blessed Wednesday morning, everyone. And then a picture that says Zeigens? I don't know if that's Zeigen. Let's see here. I'll put the picture up. Here's the image. Come on, image, load. Here we go. So the question I'm assuming is going to be, is this legal? Having a banner on the front windshield. Can you see that? For the folks in the YouTube? Yeah, that's not legal. Anywhere that the windshield wipers wipe would be not something legal for you. You can't be. So the question was, are front windshield stickers legal? And if the sticker is in the path of a windshield wiper, I'm going to say that's obstructing your driver's view. They just want to make sure any mod I make on the car is legal. That's Ishan asking that question. And no, good for you for asking that. Many people put the stickers on and then find out later that they got a ticket for $110, and it's not fun. All right. What do we have here? Good morning to my wife. Leah's wife is watching. Hello. Hopefully the kids are watching too. Hi, kids. Do speed cameras take pictures approaching, or is it just going away, or from both? I think they can be, depends on the jurisdiction and what technology they're using. But my understanding is they can be set up to do either. I don't know if they can be set up to switch, on the fly. Okay. Overspeeding. What is this? There's a question. This is Matt who's making a comment about speeding. Rushing to a red light or stop sign never wins a prize. Driving the speed limit within our lane, swinging to a tune can save you gas, brake pads. I don't know about the swinging in our lane business. Someone else brought that up. Maybe it was you. But the deal is that, take your time. Enjoy your drive. Leave lots of extra time is a good way to ensure that you get to where you're going safe. Being in a rush, being stressed, tends to create opportunities for poor decision-making, and those tend to go south when you end up getting into a collision or worse. What's worse than a collision? A collision that leads to serious injury or death. That's what's worse. Minor fender benders, we acknowledge, they happen. Okay. Oh, this is the same question Dante asked. We actually talked about this earlier. When you get a parking ticket as a security guard responding to an overnight emergency alarm call in a personal vehicle, would you be able to get it dismissed due to circumstances? That's up to the courts. Would you get a ticket? If a parking enforcement officer sees it, then they'd ticket it because they wouldn't know. And then it'd be up to you to make your case in court. But you don't have the same authority to just park wherever you want. When it's a marked police vehicle, we can park where we have to respond to a call because it's emergency, 911. You don't have that ability, especially not in a personal vehicle. Even in a marked security vehicle, you might get the benefit of the parking officer saying, "We get it, something's going on here, but you're not exempt." All right. Is it illegal to drive your friend's car? If you're a licensed driver, licensed for that particular type of vehicle, like one that requires a G-Class license, and you have a G-Class license, then you'd be legally permitted to borrow that car or drive that car. The vehicle has to be insured, of course, but if you're a licensed operator, you're a licensed operator. I'm training a rookie, and I'm scared to let him drive the police car. Any advice? Oh, yeah. They have their blue card, right? Yeah, I don't have any good advice for you. Close your eyes. Maybe that, no. Or maybe I have them really wide open. I don't know what the right answer is. But that's Charlie in 43 who's asking. It's a good question. I somehow I remember when I was training somebody at traffic, they came and did a rotation, and somehow I managed to back into a pole. But yeah, whatever. Long time ago. Okay. So I don't see the motorcycle question on Volley, but Jake here, maybe in a different section. Or maybe I need to refresh the screen. What's going on here? I don't see your motorcycle question, but let me refresh. Maybe it's in a thread. In any case, I don't see it. So let me... I see the flag. Anyway, we're going to go. So what is the question? Motorcycles wait until morning hours to zip and rev on Ellesmere. Best way to report. Okay, that I can answer without going to Volley. The answer is that you should make reports using our web access. It's www.torontopolice.on.ca/CORE. You can even use the abbreviation tps.ca/CORE to make reports about community driving issues. So if that's what's happening and you have certain times, put it in there, make the report. It does get assigned to an officer for response. But the truth is, we cannot just hang out waiting for maybe a motorcycle will go by. They're really one of those situations where we have to observe it, we have to respond to it at that moment. And it's good to know. It's good to know where there's problematic areas, and we'll try and have more support there for response. But as you know, they're driving, and you can't report it and get any kind of, instantaneous response. So good things to know. We keep an eye out for those things. And when we do see vehicles that are creating that horrible noise, we do stop and ticket those folks. Okay. An intersection with 4 stops and 4 cars, who goes first? Well, the person who goes first to arrive, first to drive. That's the deal. Everyone who goes, if you all arrive at the same time, which is, it happens. Here's my opinion on it. It's not about who is allowed to go first or whose right it is. My suggestion is, who cares? Take a pause. Take a break. Let everybody else go if you have to. Be safe. You can have the right of way legally, and then you can fight for it and lose, because at the end of the day, when that goes wrong, it's a collision more often than not. So, yeah, let it go. Let it go. Let somebody else go. Give a wave. Let everybody else start the chain in motion where you go to the right and everyone takes their turn, and you can be last, or you're talking about a minute difference, maybe. Can a passenger get charged for being intoxicated during a collision while the driver is sober? I can't think of a context where that would happen. If you are driving, if the driver is sober and you're transporting someone who's had a drink, no, there's nothing that should be chargeable for the passenger. Because public intoxication, you're not wandering the streets. You're in a motor vehicle getting a ride somewhere. I'm not aware of anything. Now, if they were the person who is supposed to be supervising a G1 driver, they wouldn't qualify as a qualified driver or supervisor, but they wouldn't be impaired operation, I don't think. I don't think so. I'll have to chat with some folks down the hall, because I've never been asked this question. All right. Is it bad? What is this? Is it bad to boost a pickup with a car? I've heard modern vehicles don't like necessarily being used to boost. It could overpower their electrical system. Certain cars like Mercedes don't like that. Call the Motor League, let them do it, or call your if you have a high-end vehicle that may have some instructions about don't do that, is different. But generally speaking, they're the same 12-volt battery in both vehicles. What do we got here? Good morning. What happens if you drive with your own plates and you just bought the vehicle? So if you have plates that are assigned to nothing, so you sold your old vehicle, you've got the plates, they're unassigned status, can you drive home from with your existing plates? As long as the vehicle is insured, you have 6 days maximum to use your original plates in order to get them to get it home, or get it to the ministry, or get it to get safety, or what have you. That's it. You have 6 days. If the vehicle is if you're using plates that are assigned to another vehicle, you're not allowed to do it. Okay. If my plate gets covered as I'm driving, like wet snow, mud on a rural road, do I need to get out of my car to clear it off, or can I wait to my destination? It's a very good question. Technically, dirty plate is an issue. If it's fresh falling snow or fresh slush because it's snowing and grimy outside, that was a quick edit, it's not an issue. I'm not going to pull someone over who's driving in slush because slush is there. If it's caked on old, old snow, caked on hard-packed snow, not recent snowfall, then yeah, when you do your circle check before getting onto your vehicle, when you clear the snow, absolutely clear it. Okay. What do we have here? If I just got we talked about that. What are your thoughts on India? I was going to go there. Is there something going on that I'm not aware of? I haven't followed the news. If there's something going on, then I'll have to read about it. But I'm not aware of anything. I did want to travel there. Okay. If I have an M2, does that mean I'm probation with my G also, i.e. 0% alcohol? No. If you have a full G and you're permitted to legally consume alcohol, or have it in your, not consuming and driving being a good thing, but if you don't have the condition for 0 BAC in your driver's license, that doesn't change by applying to an M2. However, when you're operating a motorcycle, you are under the conditions of that endorsement. So if you're on your motorcycle, 0 BAC while you're a learner, and when you're in a car with a full G and over 21 years old, then you're okay. And even then, we still say 0 BAC is the best. Okay. We have conversations on the other side of the wall. If you're hearing it, it's because people are talking, which you knew because you could hear them. I'm actually speaking for their benefit. Edison says, good morning. Good morning to you. Okay. Edison wants to know, how do you work with parking enforcement officers? Asking because I'm in the process. Well, I saw Erin here 2 seconds ago. She's a parking enforcement officer. We work well together. But generally speaking, they're a different unit, even though we answer to the same boss. It's a great job, and she loves it. I've asked. But I've got many friends who are parking enforcement officers. It's a great career opportunity, whether you're planning to stay for the entire career as a parking enforcement officer, or if you want to start there and possibly move, the doors are open. You can always apply for being a police officer later if that's something you're interested in. But we were hiring. I don't know if there's still a posting open for parking. But you said you're in the process, so there must be. Driving with plate inside your car on your dashboard instead of on the front of your car. Illegal, not permissible. Cannot do it. Need to drink. That is not hot coffee. I bought that coffee like at 7 a.m. Okay. Do you tell us where traffic enforcers are on in the morning want to be easier for them not to be known and bad drivers to get caught? This is a question from Crystal. So we do announce every day where our Vision Zero enforcement team is. But the truth is, that's just enhanced enforcement. We have enforcement being conducted throughout the entire city every day. There is no good time to speed. The truth is, don't speed. Don't drive in a way that you're going to cause injury, collision, or death. Just don't break the law. Is the best advice. And we're open and transparent about where we put our Vision Zero enforcement team because we want to let everybody know that we're there and what we're looking for and the kind of behavior that we want to change, because we're looking to stop people from speeding, driving aggressively, driving distracted, or driving intoxicated under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Why? Because those behaviors, those choices lead to serious injury and death on our roads, and we're busy trying to make the roads safer for everybody, not just drivers, not just pedestrians, cyclists too, everybody. Anyone who uses the road, even momentarily, is at risk. We want to reduce that risk. Is it allowed for motorcycles to weave in and out of traffic? And the answer is weave. So it depends. If you're talking about safe lane changes, sure, they can make safe lane changes. If you're talking about high-speed maneuvers through traffic, that's stunt driving. That's aggressive stunt driving. So all depends on what we're seeing, but no, unsafe behavior, motorcycle or otherwise, can't do it. And what do we have here? We talked about that. No more questions on there, but I don't know why I should reboot that. Okay. Is it illegal to flicker your lights to warn of a speed trap? So the answer is improper use of your high beams when you're high beaming somebody. I know for those on YouTube saw Q's just sending messages through Twitch, but he's not the actual asker of the question that came in through TikTok. The deal is that you cannot high beam people because that's not allowed. But think about why. You want to tell people there's a speed trap so they slow down temporarily so that they don't get caught, so they can speed up 5 minutes later. What if they kill somebody? What if they cause a collision? What you've done is you've temporarily, identified a risk to getting caught, so they changed their behavior momentarily, but you actually contributed to making the roads unsafe because those people are making the roads unsafe and you're helping them get away with it. What we want to do is catch them. We want to give them a ticket. We want to make them really unhappy with that ticket, so much so that they don't do it again. Trying to change their behavior through enforcement. We do the education thing right here on the internet, and then when you get on the road, you still have to make that choice. And if you you choose to put lives at risk, you shouldn't be helping people get away with it. How long have you been a PC? I've been a PC since 2013 officially. I became a cadet in training in 2012 and a PC in 2013 when I graduated. The story is that I was, prior to becoming a police constable, I was a special constable in court services. I was a supervisor at Old City Hall. And before that, a court officer at other courthouses before being promoted. And I was an auxiliary PC and auxiliary sergeant at traffic services when I started as a PC. I went to 32 Division, and as a PC became a sergeant there, and that's as a volunteer. Auxiliary is a volunteer position. So I've been with the service for 22 years, but I've done different jobs. So this is a career with many opportunities. But PC specifically was a question, so since 2013 when I graduated. Okay, covered that, covered this. What do we have here? How come all Toronto police drive over speed limit when not on their way to a call? Well, it's a good question, and we'll assume that they're not on the way to the call for your question. If we're not on the way to a call, we're generally looking for people to enforce the Highway Traffic Act on. If we stayed at the exact speed of everybody else, we would never get to the next car in front. So we do have the legal authority to exceed the speed limit when in the lawful execution of our duties. So if we're going to a 911 call, absolutely we can exceed the speed limit. But when we're conducting things like patrol and we're looking for things, we're allowed to exceed the speed limit as long as it's reasonable and safe. We're responsible for everything we do. Do you have to be insured to drive someone else's car? So the vehicle has to be insured, but you don't have to be insured on it. However, if you live with them, most insurance companies want you to be listed as an occasional driver. Can I have unopened alcohol in the back seat? Yes, you can. Unopened, sealed containers can be anywhere in the vehicle. Once it's cracked, you want to put it into the trunk. It's the best place. It has to be out of reach of the driver. How difficult is it for paramedics to transition to policing? You need only apply. There's no express route that I'm aware of, but you know what? That's great experience, and I think you tick a lot of boxes with that kind of experience. So I think you'd have a good time. I think you'd have an easy go making the transition. Can I drink near beer in the car? Near beer being non-alcoholic beer. Tastes like beer without any, I don't know, do you drink beer for the taste? I don't like the taste of beer. In any case, it's not alcoholic. So no, you should be allowed to, or you can consume it as long as it's got no alcohol. It's not considered an alcoholic beverage. Come on. It keeps wanting to scroll on me. Do cops have distracted driving training to be on their phone or laptop? We have an exemption under law. Actually, there's a number of people who do. But police have an exemption. Police, fire, ambulance, ham radio operators, they're all exempt from the laws that prevent us from using our handheld devices and laptops. Now, when you talk about, what am I thinking about here? Emergency situations. You need to call police. Well, we are police, but you need to call us. You need to call dispatch. You're exempt for that purpose. So if you're calling 911, you can hold your phone. But is there training? Listen, we know that using any device and being distracted is dangerous. But when it's dealing with officer safety or public safety, there is an acceptable risk. We have to do certain things because the risk to public safety, if we don't do it, is also very high. So we try and reduce it, keep it to a minimum, but we are legally permitted to. Is it mandatory to do police foundations to become a cop? No, not at all. In fact, I always tell people, go becoming an accountant. Go learn about something other than policing before becoming a police officer. Bring unique talents. Make yourself a unique applicant. You don't need to do what everybody else is doing because then you're the same as everybody else. That's not to say that they are not a good thing. I have police foundations as well. I did it after. I did a police leadership foundations. I don't even remember what my diploma says. How often are radars calibrated? Speed measurement devices, we have radar as well for in-car, but we test them to manufacturer standards to ensure they're working as designed according to the manuals. We don't calibrate every time we use them. That's for technicians to do. We test to make sure they're working properly before and after enforcement is conducted to make sure that it's working properly. And if they don't work, they don't work. Like we test them. Generally speaking, these computer systems that manage these pieces of equipment, they'll error out. We cannot use it if it doesn't work. But we go through the motions. We do everything that we need to do to make sure it's working properly. Alan wants to know, do you ever get the feeling that you're endlessly repeating yourself? I know that it's for a different audience. People pop in for a minute to an hour. Every listener is going to have a different experience. So someone popping in for a second just to get an answer to their question, they may never have seen me before. But yes, I'm very often repeating myself. And that's okay. You know what happens? I get better answers every time. I make better answers. I become more streamlined in my answers. And sometimes I go off the deep end and go down a rabbit hole about something that was so simple, and yet I take the longest, most complicated way to describe it, because that's just what happens. I'm not a police officer, but I'd like to say, or I would say, those motorcycles were stunt driving because it was not safe when they were doing it on the road. What are we doing here? We have a lot. We have a lot of folks who are doing some things that are unsafe. Motorcycles, cars, trucks. We have people who are just shouldn't be driving, and yet they do. Just saying. Can I have a car with no plates and insurance in my driveway? That's a municipal bylaw. Depends on where you live. In Toronto, you've got to have a vehicle with license plates, current, to be on your property, and you can be ticketed by bylaw officers, or I suppose police officers could lay the charge. But generally speaking, we're not doing that. So yeah, it is something that you may in your jurisdiction have a requirement. So you need to know what the municipal laws are where you live or where you're planning on storing that vehicle. And people say, well, why is it? It's my property. I should be able to stockpile whatever I want. There's rules. One thing, they don't want people just, turning the front yard into a parking lot, because it's an eyesore. The community doesn't appreciate it. But also, they want to prevent people from doing business in an area that's not zoned for that, because it's for communities and for people and for children, and not for people to stockpile cars in their driveway. So it really depends. Check the laws of your local authorities. Alan wants me to repeat my answer, please. That's very funny. Am I required to slow down for a car in the merging lane of the highway? Well, you can't speed up to prevent them from getting in. That could be a charge, certainly. It could even be stunt driving. You can't prevent someone from getting in, and you should be courteous, allowing. But slowing down, I mean, the person getting on to merge should do the appropriate thing to come up to speed, but you should also not be speeding. So there is a marrying of responsibilities. You need to make sure that you can either get past them or allow them in, and they need to be able to try and merge as close to being a zipper as possible. It's all about safely getting along with each other on the road. We are quickly approaching the hour at which point I will be saying goodbye for another day, which is good because I want hot coffee, and this coffee is far from being hot. It's actually icy, chilly, not so good. What do we have here? If you have a G1 and get it impaired and driving before 7 a.m., how long till you can get your what? If you have a G1 and get it impaired driving, I'm not sure what your question is. If you have a G1, you shouldn't be driving. You certainly shouldn't be impaired. But if you're impaired, you're impaired. And yeah, you're going to have to rephrase your question. But if you have a G1, you have 0 BAC is a requirement. The driving before 7 a.m., I actually have no idea what you're asking me. My bad. I can't decipher it. And with that, I think we're going to end on a low note turned high note. I'm going to play the traffic song. But I'm going to quickly scroll here and see if there's anything spectacular to ask that's just coming in. Here's one. How can police tell that you have an improper muffler if it looks stock other than noise? Well, noise is a pretty big one. If it's not muffling, it's illegal. So looking at it is one, checking to see if it's empty, if it's just a can for looks is another, looking underneath your vehicle to see if mufflers exist is another. We could charge you for the noise, for the muffler, for both. Yeah, there's a thing. All right, the traffic song. Have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. to do it all over again.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.